The reason I say that the odds are stacked against us is because, as I say, it is a noisy world, and you have the internal context and you have the external. So externally, you have this data overload and disinformation, but internally, as behavioral scientists, you know that we have delusion, all of these delusions and the cognitive biases, and then add to that the rate of distraction, internal and external. So what's said is, of course, not always what is heard. So we want to avoid a situation where decisions are just decision roulette, and maximize the chances of getting information right. So I've identified two different types. So you're either tuned in or you're tuned out. And the whole book gives you, I would say, maybe nearly 100 examples of people. Most of them have been tuned out. And I actually struggled to find live examples of people who tuned in because, of course, sensationalism, and people like to write in the media, you like to hear about people who get it wrong. So, I mean, it's much easier to find examples of people who get it wrong. But we know if you have 35,000 decisions made every day, 95% of those unconsciously, most of them are probably right. But I go back to the point, it's the consequentiality of when you hold power as a decision maker. The impact of your decisions has far-reaching ramifications. So the tuned out decision maker is the person who jumps to conclusions, takes things at face value, rushes to judgment, doesn't decode what they hear, they just encode. And again, it's because of this environment. And so, of course, the tuned in decision maker is the opposite. And there are plenty of examples of people, who have just accepted things at face value and listened to what is maybe the first voice or the loudest voice or the most senior voice in the room. And so I've given examples of CEOs who've been stripped of their knighthood. The example of the CEO in Titan, the Ocean Gate. I don't know if people remember that case. Again, examples of people. What voices did they listen to, going against their better judgment and their better interests? So there are plenty of examples there, and of course, some fantastic examples, but fewer. And so just so know that there are far fewer of people who've tuned in. But obviously that does happen, particularly to make a point. And I did want to make the point that it is such it can be so catastrophic, but equally the opportunity is there as well. So at the end of the day, we all think we are great decision makers. We know that from the above average effect, but we tune out the voices that matter. And a recent example is actually Joe Biden, who said that Zelensky just didn't want to hear the warnings. Now, you might attribute that to the ostrich effect or to the default to truth or any of the biases that we have. So, but again, the fact of the matter is that it's a pattern, it's pervasive, we're seeing it time and time again, and it is a problem to be solved. The result is absolutely, as I said, catastrophic, from Jonestown to Rwanda. There's some Irish examples there. You've got the British Post Office scandal, which is horrendous. And you can attribute all of these to somebody who has either tuned in to certain voices or to people who have tuned out.